Welcome to Hayden Cooks a Lot. Today I'm going to be making a fresh cucumber salad. It'll have some bright notes on it. It'll have a variety of acidity and herbs that we're going to be putting in it, and it will be very healthy for you. So before we get started, make sure your hair is up, sleeves are rolled, nothing on your hands or wrists. Hands are washed really well. I have my cutting board ready. Underneath I have my silicone hot pads to help prevent my cutting board from moving around. You are welcome to put a damp paper towel underneath yours and spread it out flat to keep your cutting board from moving as you are working. So I have here an English cucumber. I already cut the top of it off when I removed the wrapper. They come in plastic at the grocery store. It's wrapped in plastic. And I like to use this because the seeds are very tiny in it. And I also like to use the baby cucumbers, which I usually find at Trader Joe's and sometimes at Walmart. And they're little tiny skinny baby cucumbers. And I like those too because they're tender. And both of them have tender skin. A regular cucumber you can also use, which would be fine. But I would peel it first. You get out your vegetable peeler and peel it to remove the skin because the skin is thicker and they coat it in a wax. So that's why it's really shiny. And I just don't think it absorbs the dressing as well. But this skin is thin, so it has no problem, and there's more nutrients that are right in the skin and right underneath of the skin. So I'm going to take this and I am going to, I already cut off the stem end of it. I'm going to cut off the blossom end. So this is my Santoku chef knife. I want to bring my finger up here to this part of the knife, wrap my hand around. My finger is bent right here, and on the back side, my thumb is holding it there. And notice the blade is shorter than the handle. I'm going to cut off, I already did the stem end. Now I'm going to cut off the bottom, which is the blossom end of the cucumber, okay? Put that in my compost pile. So this is a very long cucumber. So I need to think about what type of cucumber bites do I want on my fork going into my mouth will determine, what type of salad you want. So you can cut it just regularly into rounds if you want, or you can cut it in lengthwise in half and have a half moon shape, or you can cut it in fourths. That's up to you, whatever you would like. So I think I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to cut directly down the center because it's a little bit large for my fork. And you can see the inside of it, the seeds are very minimal versus a regular cucumber, the seeds would be thicker. So if you have a regular cucumber and you cut it in half, at this point, I would take a spoon and scrape down just the center of that cucumber to remove the seeds, and then put the seeds in like your compost pile. And then the cucumber would be like a half moon shape that you could just cut up from there. So this looks good to me. So I'm just going to go flat side down, and now I'm going to stack them side by side, and I'm going to hold on to them with my claw, so my fingers are tucked in. Hold on to it so they don't move. And I'm going to be slicing this up kind of thin. So cucumbers have vitamin K, vitamin C in them. They have magnesium, potassium. They're full of water and they're full of fiber. So they're also very, very low in calories. So they're actually really good for you. So people who are on a diet, a cucumber would be a great snack to have because it's very low in calories. All right, so I'm keeping the tip of my knife on the board as I'm slicing through both of these using my chef knife, the glide. And I'm cutting these pretty thin, not super thin, not like paper thin, but thin enough so the dressing can go into it easily. And cut that guy in half, and then here I need to get like that. All right, so I'm gonna move these cucumbers over here, and I have this bowl here. Yeah, let me just go ahead. I'll put the cucumbers in the bowl, and then I'll just start adding some of the other ingredients in, and then we'll just put our dressing on last. All right, so I have these half moon shapes of the cucumbers. All right, so I have some leftover onion that I'm going to be using, and this was a white onion. So I'm gonna be chopping some of this up to put in with my cucumber salad. You don't have to use an onion if you don't like. I just like to have that with my cucumbers. I think it adds some extra crunch. So to get it from to here, if this is a yellow onion, this is a white one, and white onions are usually larger than the yellow. So this is the stem end, this is the root end. Peel off the loose papers, wash it, pick off the little root ends of it that are sticking out, and then I cut off the stem end of it, and then I had it flat side down, and I cut directly through the center of the root. And so this is half of that white onion that's left. All right, so I would like to have thin little slices that are about this long going into it. So I am going to have the root end away from me, and I'm going to come in about right here, here. So I'm going to do a few cuts with the tip of my knife without going all the way through the root, and then I'm going to rotate and I'm going to slice it thin. So root's away from me, and I'm coming in with the tip of my knife, cutting down, moving my fingers out of the way. Here we go. So you can see I did some cuts about that far apart. They're about a little over a ½ inch apart. And now I have the root end away from me, and I'm coming in. I'm going to do some very thin slices. I don't want a huge chunk of onion in my salad, like a big thick one. So that's why I want to do it very thin. And a Santoku chef knife, it's a little thinner than a regular chef knife, and that's why I really like that, because I can do a little bit thinner cuts when I'm cutting my vegetables if I want. All right, so I think that's about good. So I'm going to save this, and I think I'm going to be making migas soon for breakfast. So I'll probably save that little end for the migas. So I'm going to add these onion pieces, and you can see here I cut them pretty thin. You see that? They're pretty thin. So I'm going to sprinkle these on top. All right. So I'm sprinkling them because I'm breaking them up so they are detached from each other as they go in. All right. Get in the bowl. All right. Now, we need to run our lemon next. So this is an organic lemon. I already washed, of course, I already washed everything and dried it. So I already washed and dried this. But for this salad, I want to take the zest off of this lemon and use it. And I'm going to use the lemon juice that's inside. So the zest has good flavor, and that's where a lot of the oils and stuff are that are in that lemon. It gives it that good smell and that good flavor. So there are two different zesting tools I pulled out. So I have, this is the little protective thing. I have this one here, which does a fine little zest. And then I have this tool here, which is another type of zester. This makes a little bit thicker strips. So if you have this kind here, then you would take where the curved side is. Can you see that? The curved side, there we go, curved side. And I would aim it at the lemon, and then I would push in and drag it down the lemon. It would make these thin little strips, in which case I would line up the strips on my cutting board, and then I would mince them to death with my chef knife. So they're little, tiny little pieces, okay? But instead, I have this tool here that I bought. So this is also a zester, but I need to be very careful with it that I don't cut my fingers when I'm using it. So I'm going to be holding onto the lemon with my fingers out of the way. This has a piece of rubber on the bottom of it. So I'm going to have this against my cutting board, and I can see it. If you want to touch it, you can feel where the little cutters are. So the cutters, if I go this way on there, it doesn't cut. But the other direction it would cut. So I don't want to put my fingers there. So I'm going to take this lemon from this side, and I'm watching what I'm doing with my fingers, and I'm going to drag it down the length of it, and you can see that just took off the yellow part. So you want to just remove the colored part off of a citrus, not the white pithy part that's underneath, because that's a little bit more bitter. And as I drag this down to remove the zest, I am rotating my lemon. So you can see I've gone next to it. So I'm rotating, and I'm keeping my fingers out of the way because I do not want to cut myself. That would not feel good. I don't want to cry. All right, so I need to be very careful when I'm doing this. And lemon is full of vitamin C in it. And that zest has those good oils. So if you don't want to keep your zest for a salad, you could always remove this zest off of the outside of it. You can keep it in a little container in your freezer or freezer bag. And then when you go to make something like blueberry muffins or some type of like a white cake of some sort, you can add a little bit of that zest in there, and it'll help to flavor it and make it taste good. So almost done here. I'm going to take off all of the zest off of this organic lemon. And organic means it's grown without the herbicides and pesticides on it. So I don't need to worry about chemicals. Okay. And you can see, there we go. I've got all of the colored part off. Now, move that out of the way. The back side of this has a lot of the fine zest that's in it, okay? So this is one of the fine ones. I got this tool, it's by, oh, what's it called? Cuisipro, Cuisipro, I guess. Anyway, I found this tool at Williams-Sonoma, which is a store at Crabtree Valley Mall that you can get your stuff in there. So the back side of this is not sharp. So I'm gonna pull off this zest off of the back side of it with my hand, and I'm going to sprinkle that into my salad, and I'm going to grab this off my cutting board. So it's really, really fine, and I like that. That's why I bought this here. So it saved me time rather than using the other zester and then cutting it up, which make a little bit thicker of chunks. Now remember, this direction is the cutting, but this direction is not. So there's a little bit on the front that I can pull off, and again, I'm going to pull some more off on the back side. So as soon as you're done using this tool, you want to give it a good rinse, because you don't want this lemon stuff to dry on there. If it does dry on there, it's fine. You can still get it off. You can soak it off. And then this type of tool I would wash with my dish brush so I don't accidentally cut myself. Okay, so I gave that a rinse, and I'll wash that later. I'm just going to set that off to the side. Okay, so for my salad, normally I would use fresh dill weed, fresh, what else do I put in there? Fresh basil and fresh mint. I don't have any of that right now. So I'm gonna be using some dried herbs that are gonna go in it. So I have some dried dill weed, and normally it's like, if you have fresh versus dried, dried is stronger. So you'd use a teaspoon of dried to a tablespoon of fresh. So anyway, it smells fragrant. Okay, so I'm not gonna measure, but I'm gonna sprinkle in till it looks good. And to me, that's about a good ½ teaspoon of dill weed. Okay, and here's some dried basil. It smells good. So I'm gonna put in here about a 1/4 of a teaspoon of that. I can always come back and add more later. I am going to sprinkle in a little bit of garlic, ground granulated garlic. So let's put in about, this was a ½ teaspoon. I didn't use all of it. So about a 1/4 teaspoon of that went in, and I can add more later. And I'm gonna put in some fresh ground black pepper. And this is ground sumac. Okay, so sumac actually grows wild here, and I have some on my property. Now there's a difference between poison sumac and sumac plants that grow. So they're like these tall bushes, and later in the summer, they're gonna have these conal looking, purpley looking, that's sort of like flowery looking, but you can actually harvest that. I have not done that yet. So this is ground sumac that I bought from the store. And it smells good, and you'll see this sometimes when you go to like a Mediterranean restaurant, and they'll sometimes sprinkle this on top of the hummus or some of the other ingredients. So I'm gonna put in here a full ½ teaspoon of this ground sumac. And I think that is delicious tasting. So I'm gonna now put in a few grinds of salt. So this is pink Himalayan salt. I got this at Costco. So I'm gonna put in a good ½ teaspoon of salt. Okay, you can use kosher salt or regular table salt if you would like. And now I'm gonna put in some apple cider vinegar. So when you buy your apple cider vinegar, this happens to be organic, and I always wanna buy it with the mother. So, with the mother, okay, because that's the better, healthier type of apple cider vinegar. So always buy it with the mother that's in it. And which is the way that it's like raw and fermented correctly. So well, not correctly, but it's well fermented. But it's raw, so it's healthier for you. So I'm gonna put in here, probably that's a tablespoon right there, maybe a little, maybe let's go 2 tablespoons of it. All right. So that's about 2 tablespoons. You're welcome to measure. I like to eyeball stuff like this. And here's olive oil, which has good flavor. This is a mono unsaturated fat. I'm gonna be adding in some olive oil on top of that. There's 1 tablespoon. And there's 2 tablespoons. And I might add in a little bit more. And now I'm going to cut my lemon in half. Okay, and I have a fork here. Let me get out a little dish. Okay, so I don't want to put this directly in the salad because there might be seeds in here. So I'm going to stick a fork in the lemon part that I just cut in half, and now I'm going to squeeze against the fork. I'm going to squeeze lemon juice down inside this little container. Okay, so right now I have a good tablespoon at the bottom. And the fork helps to break this up to get out the juice. There is one, let me get out with my fingers. There's one little seed that popped out. There's a little seed. Okay, we don't eat those. But you could put the seeds in some dirt and water it, and you can grow like little lemon plants that will come up. They smell good too. Okay, so that's a good tablespoon and a half of the lemon juice. I'm gonna give my fingers a rinse off. Okay, and now I need to give this a toss. Where did my spoon go? Oh, don't know. All right, let me get another spoon. All right, so I'm going to toss this together really well. Intermix all these ingredients. I'm going to give it a taste, and I might be adding in more spices or more olive oil. So the vinegar and the lemon juice together make the salad have a very bright and tangy flavor, which I really like. And that with the olive oil is like a marinade for this. And as it sits, the cucumber is going to wilt just a little bit down. And this will be good even tomorrow. So if you don't eat it fresh, it's still delicious the next day. Just make sure that you refrigerate it. All right. Now I'm going to use the fork that I was using on my lemon, and I'm going to give this a taste to see what I think. So I have some cucumber, and I have some of that onion on there. Mmm. Very good. I like that. All right, so I want to add in a little bit more of the ground sumac. So I'm going to sprinkle in about another ¼ teaspoon. And I want more black pepper in there. And I also pulled out some celery seed. I wanted to taste this first to see what I think. And celery seed is actually really good too on cucumber type salads. You could also mince up some fresh celery. I'm just going to use a little bit of celery seed. And it smells like strong celery. All right, so I put in maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon of that, and then I'm gonna put another few splashes of olive oil in here. Here we go. And stir this up. This is the type of salad that's good on a hot summer day with some lemonade on the side, because the lemon in this and the lemon in your drink will complement each other. All right, so let me give this a taste. Mmm, very good. So it's bright, it's tangy, it's crunchy, has great flavor. I like the addition of that celery seed. And if you've not tried ground sumac, you might want to get a little container of that and try it out. It's kind of hard to find. I did get it at a spice store that's in Lafayette Village, if you're familiar with that. It's off of Falls of Noose Road. It looks like a little village that has like a Eiffel Tower, a little miniature Eiffel Tower in front of it. So that's really good. All right, and this is what the salad looks like with all of the different ingredients in there. So this is a very healthy side dish to go with something for lunch or dinner. Thanks for joining me.